Tommy, our guest is Brenda Fricker.
Oh my God, wow, okay. How are you?
How are you?
Good now.
I know, and you can't give me a hug.
No, I'd like to. You look like you'd be a good hug.
I'm watching you. I'm watching you hugging. You're great. You nearly squeezed Michael D to death.
I was the one and only time I met you was at I think it was the 50 years of the Late Late Show or something like that, and I was saying to you that you had no memory of it, but my mother had a memory of living with you for a little while somewhere.
I knew that was going to be the first thing.
Yeah, that was just my...
I was trying to have a conversation with you that night, but everybody was very crowded and messy, and I just tapped you on the shoulder, and you turned down and you said, every time you're on the television, my mother says, you lived in the Finchley Road. And I couldn't talk to you, and I kept saying, what's your mother's maiden name? And you were off chatting.
She would have been Helen O'Brien.
Doesn't ring a
from
bell.
Clonmel.
And I've done a bit of research on this since you said that, and I've kind of backtracked. There was a bit of a lot of people were passing through through that flat. A lot of we were very.
How are you?
I'm all right.
Where in the world are you these days? Where do you live?
The Liberties.
How come?
The Coombe. Because I bought a little cottage there years ago, and that's where I live.
Are you doing much work?
No.
For a long time, or?
Yeah, for about 10 years now.
How come?
A rest.
You wanted to rest?
Yeah.
Can you talk to me about that? What happened?
Well, people say you retire. We're actors are like boxers, you know, we retire.
Yeah.
I got a bit disenchanted at the way movies were going, the way they were being made. Just thought I'd have a pause.
Wow. Because a lot of people would never find themselves in a situation where they could afford to do that.
Well, I have no love of money. I don't. I live a very quiet life, well under the radar.
Yeah.
I drive a tiny car. I own a cottage. That's about it. So I don't need much money.
How do you pass your time?
Talking to the wall quite a bit. Talking to the dog. Writing poetry. Reading books. Watching television, like nothing different than anybody else does. Except being alone so much can make you talk to the wall a bit more than most people.
Yeah. How's the inside of your head?
At this moment in time, it's, well, only yesterday, I think it was, I went to the doctor and he said, he's going to put you on stronger antidepressants. Because I am a bit of a recluse. We've just been talking about that. And the thing about staying inside by choice is fine. But the moment you're told to stay inside, you want to go out.
Yeah.
So I've learned from that because I wanted to go out. Because going out the front door can be a problem for me sometimes. So mentally, I suppose, I wouldn't say it's 100%, Tommy, but it's grand, you know.
Yeah. Are you sad? I mean, you seem very rooted in one way. I'm very calm, and you're in a very strong way holding eye contact with me, but I'm also getting... I can't believe that you might be sad, but are you?
Oh, yeah. Yes. I think sadness is almost necessary to have as an emotion. Because how else do you empathise? But then you look at a tree sometimes and you can get sad. I bet you get sad too.
Yeah, but it's usually turned on me. It's usually connected with a sense of failure.
I mean, you've more in your life to maybe fail at. I would be failing at much more minute things.
Yeah.
Like I drop a spoon on the floor, that kind of thing might make me sad. But I'm stepping back into the big word now, so I'm not sad when I'm working.
Yeah. People can have this prejudice about medication, you know, and I came across this great line by Leonard Cohen. It was, I'm living on pills for which I thank God.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Talking of pills, I'm on one pill that makes my mouth as dry as blotting paper, so I have to go around with little sweeties in my mouth. I'm not being rude. Would you like one?
No. I don't trust you.
You're right.
I'd be zonked.
I wish they were tablets like that. They're not. They're not.
Like some kind of devious grandmother walking around giving drugs to people.
I'm not a grandmother. I promise you.
So what are the... Now you say the success of certain films, but even thinking back on, we'll say for one of them, from, My Left Foot, you had the same characteristic in that as you do with Me Here Now, which is one of a kind of a dignified, strong, wounded silence.
I'm sorry to laugh, but it's quite accurate in a way, yes.
And so at what point did you decide I need tablets just to fucking not be dead?
Well, I didn't really decide it. GPs ask you questions, and I suppose they go along on your answers, and they make a judgment on it. They will take this or whatever. Yeah. And I do get very depressed. There's no doubt about that.
And were you ever hospitalised?
For what?
For depression?
Oh, Jesus, yes. Oh, yes. I was a regular up at St. Pat's before it was all posh like it is now. It was Dickensian, the old building. It was very difficult, but there was a wonderful Dr. Anthony Clare, I don't know if you know him.
Oh, yeah.
He saved my life. He was brilliant with me. He really got me out of the mire.
Through counselling?
Absolutely. Just wonderful. Just a wonderful brain. And knowing you, could just get into you, do you know?
And what did he help you realise?
I just walked out happy when I was in his company. He made me feel good. He made me feel, I suppose, when you're that depressed, you don't feel... What's the word I'm looking for now? You don't feel too deeply respectful towards yourself. Mm-hmm. So that when you'd spend an hour or sometimes two with him, it was life-changing. Like, you'd go on for 2 or 3 days after that. Much better than any tablet, but you couldn't be doing that.
Would you be worried about going back to acting and being fit for it?
Well, you've done your acting.
Yeah, but...
I didn't see it, but I hear wonderful reports about doing being in Sive.
But
so many stand-up comics are such good actors. They really are. I mean, going way back, they really are. I mean, I've worked now with people... Michael Myers, who was screaming to do a serious film and came over to Ireland and did one here.
People like Peter Sellers come to mind. Who
I mean,
was
exactly.
such a gifted performer.
But you've much more instinct for, I think, for audiences. You're faster, because of what you do.
Yeah.
I don't have that at all.
But are you worried about, like, so you're in the house and there's a rhythm of, there's a pace that comes with solitude. There's a pace that comes with medication. There's a pace that comes with, sadness. And then on set, lines. I'm lines and performance. So I'm asking you, are you concerned about being fit enough for that?
If we all decide to be agents that I'm going to do a play or a film or whatever, once that decision is made, I'm in control of myself. And I know exactly what to do.
Okay.
I know where the lights are. I know where the table is. I'm not going to fall over anything. It's just up to me to add my interpretation and say the words that somebody else has written. There's not much artistry in it. It's just a trade, And I'm very happy doing that. Oh, yeah. Do you ever have a song in your pocket? Go on. Sorry.
Do you ever have a song in your pocket?
No, I love the way you say that to people.
Would you have a song in your pocket?
Would you have a song in your pocket?
Yeah.
No, because would you have a poem in your pocket?
Do you have a poem in your
I
pocket?
have a little poem in my pocket. No, I might not say it. I'm just saying that it's there.
Will you say it, please?
I mean, genuinely, you want me to
Genuinely,
say it?
yeah.
Oh, dear. Well, it's but maybe you could guess who it's by. It's a very short one. To drift with every passion till my soul is a stringed lute upon which all winds can play. Is it for this I have given away mine ancient wisdom and austere control? Methinks my life is a twice written scroll, scrawled over on some boyish holiday with idle tunes for pipe and virelay, which do but mar the secret of the whole. Surely there was a time when I might have trod the sunlit heights, and from life's dissonance struck one clear chord to reach the ears of God. Is that time gone? Lo, with a little rod, I did but touch the honey of romance. And must I lose the soul's inheritance?
What's that from?
I'm not telling you, you have to guess. He's Irish.
W.B. Yeats.
No, I was thinking of him. No, I didn't. No, you're in the right area now. As well known like as him now. Should we get off the subject? It's Oscar Wilde.
Oscar Wilde, oh my goodness, wow. I was asking you about preparing for a role and the work involved in that. So how do you do that?
Depends on the role. You know, if I'm just playing another mother, I don't have to do much research, really. What else? I'm kind of cast now in The Mother Forever, but there was a film I did out, indeed with Michael Myers, out in America, and it was comedy, which nobody ever asked me to do. And I had to do a lot of homework for that, right? And what he was doing a Scottish, he was playing the father and the son. He's hysterical.
What was the film?
So I Married an Axe Murderer. It's an underground film.
Some of your finest work.
It is actually. It is. I would think that's better than a lot of other things. But it was wonderful. And then he wanted to do a series film, and he came over here, God love him. And he was very good. But the film didn't go anywhere. I must tell you, he came home to my cottage for a pint, right?
Of?
Pint of whatever, Guinness or beer or something. And he came into the kitchen, and there were a couple of other people there, and they sat down, and he was still standing up. And I said to him, sit down. And you know what it was? I didn't get it in the beginning. He thought the cottage was the entrance to the big house. And I had to say to him, no, this is where I actually live, you know. And he was horrified.
Wow.
And I was saying, well, you know, what's a small island and land is premium, and go and look at a copy of The Field, please. No, but it was very fun. He was very nice.
Wow.
And he was very enchanted, I think.
Yeah. But did you ever think of living in the States?
I lived in New York for a year, illegally. I loved it, yeah. But New York in the 70s was wild, like.
What kind of work were you doing there in the 70s?
I got a job working on my friend's social security, so whatever you call it, name, working for Dean Rusk's brother. And Dean Rusk was in the government at the time, I think. So I was kind of a sort of a helper, PA, I couldn't do typing, but pretending to do these things. And going off to posh dinners with people like Golda Meir and Henry Kissinger, and just sitting there and taking it all in, like, you know, it was wonderful.
So where did you experience the wildness in New York then? That's kind of the upper echelons of intellectual and political power.
Oh, the wild thing was, 42nd Street and places like that, which were extraordinary. And I'd heard about 42nd Street, that I must go down and look at this. God, was I not prepared for it? Because there was all the drugs, all the brothels, all the gay people dressed as women, things I'd never seen in my life. And there was there were drugs everywhere. And I remember I got marijuana for the first time. And I remember I got a bag of it, but I could carry a bag of it from somebody. And I was sitting on the edge of a statue in Central Park with the guy beside me, and he was showing me how to roll a joint, and two policemen went by, and I kind of went, hello, and he said, is that an Irish accent I hear? And I said, it is, yes, it is, yes, it is. And he said, oh, my mother was Irish. And I said, and he could see it clearly what we were doing. Didn't bother him in the slightest, like. That's an indication of what it was like.
Yeah.
But all the things you see in the movies, like, you know, I'd be walking down and saying, taxi, I wouldn't want a taxi at all, like, just to see would one come up to me, because we've all seen it in the movies.
Yeah.
So then we were going back to do my left foot. We were going over to do the publicity. I kept saying to Jim Sheridan, they're not going to let me in. I'm on the computer. I won't be allowed in. I came illegally. But nothing happened.
Did you get an Oscar for My Left Foot?
I did, yeah.
Oh, is that like... Where is it?
It's holding the bathroom door open. It's a great heavyweight, I must say.
Is there weight in it?
It's very heavy. If you watch the ceremony, sometimes you see people picking it up and going like that. I used to give a $5 to the person who didn't say it's very heavy.
Yeah, yeah.
And I was giving her a lot of money, you know. It's very heavy, yeah. And the people who can do that, you know, I don't know how to do it. They must be high, I suppose.
What was it like that night?
Well, I mean, nobody believes me. Nobody believes me when I say that I didn't think I was going to win, because everybody says that.
Can you remember who was also nominated that year?
Well, and we got 5 nominations for the film, which is extraordinary when you think of it. And Daniel was the one that was going to win.
Yeah.
That was the one we talked about in all the publicity. The 2 actors were Daniel and myself. So you're doing 15 interviews a day in the hotels, and you're pushing Daniel, pushing the film, pushing Daniel. It never crossed my mind that there was a chance in hell that my name was going to go. And I'll tell you why, that's the truth. Because we were sitting in the 3rd row along the aisle, and there was an exit door there. And when you went out, there was a bar. And they have the breaks, and they have the people who sit in your seats. And I went out and had a very large Bloody Mary, delighted with myself, thinking it's a great night. You know, there's Jane Fonda, God, it's lovely, you know. Came back in, sat down for the second half, and then there was another break. I went out, had another very large Bloody Mary. I don't know who was with me. And I was getting like a little bit tipsy now, and then I went back in and thought, oh God, who's up next now? And then it was me. Tommy, if I had thought there was one chance of my having to get up on that stage and talk to 1,000 film stars, I wouldn't even have smelt alcohol. So that's my real proof that I didn't expect it. And then I thought, I'd better thank people. They thank everybody. And I said, and thank you, and thank Jim Sheridan's wonderful. Thanks, Jim was there, you know. And thanks very much for Noel. Thanks, Jim. No, I couldn't speak. And then and there's all the things, the guys with the white gloves that you're 1, 2, 3, you're going to... The music is coming in over you, you know, exactly, yeah. And so I managed to tail it in quite well. And I got off. But then when you go off, it's like walking into an Ivor storm. And Kevin Kline, who presented to me, was so lovely. He took me quickly aside and he got one of the huge black drapes and he put it around the 2 of us. And he said, this is the last private moment you're going to have, Brenda. You've just won an Oscar. You've just won an Oscar. This is the last private moment you're going to have. And it went in.
Yeah.
And it came out, and then you go through silly stuff of publicity, but then you go back to present the next year. They give you the envelope, you know, and about 25 security men around you. And I remember I had to go down to the toilet. The ladies' toilet was downstairs. And they sent a lady policeman in with me, so I was coming out and had the envelope. And I saw it in the corner of my eye, this elderly man on the banisters. It looked like he was in trouble. So I said, hold on a minute, and I went over and said, are you all right? And his face came up, and it was Al Pacino, who was nominated that year. And I said, are you all right? And he said, 11 times I've been nominated. And I said, but you're going to win. This is the envelope. I said, your name is in here. There's no problem with that. And he said, oh, no. I said, look, I know. I've seen the films. There's no way anybody... You're going to win. There's no problem at all. And he kind of cheered up, and I went off. And then when it came to do it, out I go, and I say, and the Oscar goes to Joe Pesci. And I could see Al Pacino sitting there. And then Joe Pesci came up to get his Oscar. He was so surprised that he couldn't speak at all. He just said thank you and walked off. So I did the same thing as Kevin Kline did. I grabbed the big black thing and I put it around him and I said, this is the last private moment you're ever going to have. And he bawled crying. And Joe Pesci's a toughie, you know. That went on. Then there's the governor's ball. So we're out there at the governor's ball. And all these very well-dressed young Italian boys kept coming up to say, Bob wants a word with you. This is, of course, Robert De Niro. And I said, oh, I'm busy. I don't around here. Bob would like to join him at the table. I said, I'm having a grand time. Thank him very much for me. Goodbye now. 10 minutes later, Bob, would you mind coming over to the table? And this went on. And I said, oh, great, here I go. So I went over. And you'd think he was God with the Italian mafia sitting around him, you know. And he said, sit down. And I said, no, I'm not sitting down. I said, I'm having a pint over there with my friend. He was on the champagne bottle. You know what I mean? Yes, exactly. And he just kind of said, thank you. And I said, no, he's grand. And I said, he's going up now to present one and he'd be in better form. So good luck, Mel, went off, you know. But I wouldn't like to be sitting at that table for too long.
You, how do you say this? You liven up when you're telling stories.
So do you. But that's the whole point of communication, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's enjoyable.
Yeah. Thank you very much for coming on the show and talking to me.
And it's been a pleasure to be here.